Hi, Barely Sapient here. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Normally I would do a game review, but today I'm going to do a bit of a review on Bazzite. It is a popular gaming distro in Linux. And with Windows 10 coming up to end of support on the 14th of October of 2025, which is this year, I think this is important to cover things like this. There are a lot of PCs out there that are perfectly usable that just don't meet the minimum requirements for Windows 11. Now, there are ways to bypass that and install Windows 11, but there's no guarantee that future updates won't break the usability of that operating system on this type of hardware. In recent years, gaming on Linux has become not only just possible, but quite a viable option, especially for single-player games. Recently, Bazzite added support for Nvidia 9 and 10 series GPUs, which is good news because there's a lot of those out there. Say what you will about Nvidia, but for more than a decade and a half, they have absolutely dominated the discrete GPU market, selling more than anyone else, and it's not even close. As I had stated earlier, multiplayer gaming is a problem on Linux in general, and that's also going to be true in Bazzite. Most games just don't work. There are some that do, but most don't. You can check the compatibility for your specific multiplayer games that you like to play at areweanticheatyet.com. Until fairly recently, support for Nvidia GPUs in Linux for gaming has been, well, kind of a mess. It's getting better though. So today I'm going to give you my impressions of gaming on a system with a fairly older Nvidia GPU. This system has an Nvidia Quadro M4000, and that is about equal to a GTX 960 or 970. It's kind of in between those two as far as actual speed. It has as many cores as a GTX 970, more VRAM, but the clock speed on the GPU itself is lower. Okay, so the first thing you've got to do is actually download the operating system, right? So go ahead and go to your favorite search engine and type in Bazzite. You're going to see it's practically going to be the first thing that pops up. You're going to go to download Bazzite, and then you see where you got this select your hardware. Yeah, this is where you want to go. You want to go for a desktop PC in this case. You're going to select your GPU vendor. That's like the biggest thing with Bazzite. Now you can get the newest stuff here. This is for modern GPUs. Or the legacy stuff. You're going to want in this case, the Nvidia GTX 9 and 10 series. You're going to want to download that. And you have two options. You have KDE or GNOME. Now I downloaded KDE because I particularly like that desktop environment. So that's what I did. And then you are going to click download. And it's just that simple. And then you have the ISO file to make that. Now, if you're using Windows, which most of you probably are, you're going to want to download a tool called Rufus. This helps make creatable USB drives. This is so that you can install the operating system. You're going to want to download the latest one, the standard one, to install it on Windows. Oops, looks like it downloaded twice. It's really just that easy. Once you have downloaded Rufus and the Bazzite ISO file that you want to install, the version of it you want to install, you're going to open Rufus. Make sure you have a USB stick plugged into your computer in a USB slot. Open up Rufus, select the device that you want to create your USB bootable device with. And then you're going to select the ISO, which is going to be the Bazzite one that you downloaded. And then all you got to do is hit start, and this will make a bootable device that you can install Bazzite from. Okay, so when you reboot your system and you select your USB device to boot from, you're going to get a grub. You're going to get a screen like this, and what you're going to do is select install Bazzite, and it will start to boot. After a few moments, you'll get to a screen like this where you will select your language. This is where you can set your, looks like whatever, yeah, you'll select your language, right? And then you'll get to this screen here. Usually it will detect what kind of keyboard you have, and then you're going to want to select your installation destination, and you want to create your user right now. Change these as you like. Your installation though, yep. See, in this case, yeah, I've got the one device, so I'm going to select that. That makes it pretty easy. You want to make sure that you see the check mark. You see how that? Okay. So now I'm done in this screen, and then I'm going to create a user. Nice long username there. Nice secure password here, because why not? It is not the Spaceballs password. Once you're done setting up your username and your full name and username, you don't even have to put your real name. Don't bother, in fact. But once you're done, hit done. Because of course, after you're done with that, all you have to do is hit begin installation. That's yep. And it will start the installation process, and you are done. It'll take anywhere from, I don't know, 10 minutes to an hour, depending on your hardware. Okay, so a couple of thoughts here about when you are selecting your storage to install Bazzite onto. Number one, you make sure you don't install Bazzite on the same device as Windows if you're doing a dual boot. And two, know that you can be in this screen, this device selection and storage configuration screen, you can destroy your whatever's installed on your system right now. You can delete the data, so be careful. After the installation process has finished and your system is rebooted, you will get a login screen similar to this. So this is what Bazzite looks like when you first boot into it. It is a gaming distro first, so Steam comes pre-installed. You also have Firefox for your internet browser. You have Lutris, which is another way to install and play video games that are for Windows. You also have a terminal. Just about every Linux distro is going to come with a terminal if it has a desktop environment like this does. You have Bazaar, which is a place where you can find software and manage installing, uninstalling, that sort of thing. And it's for flat packs. And you have a file manager. The interface looks very similar to Windows. They have a taskbar. This is where you can find, the start button is basically that Bazzite looking thing, a purple thing. You can find more programs here. You can list through all of them. You really don't have much other than some gaming utilities. You have some image viewers, a document viewer. You can help center and info center, that sort of thing. You also have KDE Connect. This is where you can connect to your smartphone. It works very well with Android. I haven't tried it on iOS. You have a video player. This is for playing video files, that sort of thing. It doesn't really come with anything for Office other than a document viewer. You can install one later if you want. You have various system utilities, as well as other just general utilities. And then for some reason, Bazzite comes with Wadroid, which is an Android emulator for Android programs. It's an unusual program. You can play Android games on this if you wanted to. Some of them actually do work in x86, but that's a whole nother topic. You obviously have your restart, shutdown, and you can log in and out, or log out type of button, so you can put the computer to sleep just like a normal operating system. On the right hand side, you have a calendar. You have network, any USB or connected devices. You have a volume control, and you have a clipboard. Now you'll see this doesn't come with any like desktop icons or anything like that. You can change the desktop, the background, and you can change the display. You can change the wallpaper like this. So this is how you can change your various different basically how your desktop looks, that sort of thing. This is a gaming distro, so it comes with Steam pre-installed. So all you have to do is click on the Steam icon on your taskbar, and it will open up a login screen. Kind of like that. So Bazzite comes with Bazaar, which is a software installer and manager. And it installs something known as flat packs in Linux. Now, as a gaming distro, they have curated things that are important to gamers on the software manager for Bazzite. One of the first things on the list, it's like Heroic. This is Heroic Games Launcher. This is how you can play Epic games and GOG games and Amazon games. Now, Epic and GOG are definitely something I use. You also have access to itch for your indie games, as well as a bunch of others. Some of them are just actual games to emulators. Yeah, you name it. It's got, this is what it did. DOS boxes on here. Everything is pretty much set up for gaming. This is what you get when you get Bazzite. If you keep scrolling down, there are other things curated in the store. You have streaming and chat apps such as OBS and Discord, as well as some others. You have music and media programs here, such as like Spotify and Plex and Jellyfin. You have Office and productivity, such as LibreOffice. You have Thunderbird, which is a great email client. There's Blender, that sort of thing, Audacity. And you have a unofficial client for Microsoft Teams if you absolutely need it. And then, of course, there's utilities, various different things. Now, of course, just like any good software manager, there is a search function, and this is where you can search specifically for certain programs or maybe games that you want. As I mentioned before, Heroic Games Launcher allows you to play Epic and GOG games. You're going to want to install that if you have either of those, and it makes it pretty easy. Once it's done installing, you can run the application. Also, you'll notice in your games and your start menu will be updated. It'll have Heroic Games Launcher now. So let's go ahead and start the program. It'll give you some updates, so what's changed. It does this every time it updates as well. But this is, a brand new install. It'll ask you some analytics. You can either choose to enable or disable that. This is anonymous data. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is click to log in to your different accounts. And there you have it. Here's an Epic Games login. Every once in a while you might need an alternative login method for some games. I haven't encountered that. Then you have GOG and Amazon. And that's it. Just like Windows, you can go to your start menu, pick a program, right? You can put it on your taskbar, or you can put it to desktop, and you can do this by right-clicking. Now I can open Heroic Games Launcher from the desktop if I want to. Simple, right? Okay, so if you'll notice, that installation was pretty painless. And post-installation is even less painless. Let's see, in Windows you would have to download another browser, because who the hell uses Edge? 2, you have to download device drivers for your video card, perhaps for something else from your motherboard. It's always something, right? You don't have to do that with Bazzite. As well, you pre-pick which GPU for one, and then everything else just works right out of the box. You can get started. You don't even have to download Steam. That comes pre-installed. And then it's only one games launcher for Epic and GOG. So that's it's just easier. Huh. Through the magic of video editing, I have installed a bunch of games and a few programs, and I've been using Bazzite for a couple weeks now. So this is what Heroic Games Launcher looks like when you have some games installed and you're signed into some accounts, things like that. It takes a little bit for it to load, obviously, on this system. As you can see, it lists a huge library here. I probably have too many games, but it lists your library here. You have filters for you can change it from Epic to GOG, or you can have both. You have others as well. And you can basically launch games from this screen here. Now, you have a couple of options when you pick a game to launch, right? You can just play now like that, right? Once it's installed. But let's say you're having trouble running it. You can choose a different version of Proton. Now, Proton is how Linux runs Windows games. And on Heroic Games Launcher, you can manage that in Wine Manager. You can download various versions of Proton to get them to work. Now, most of the time you won't even have to do this. Most of the time it'll work with the one that's the default version of it. But every now and again you might have to do this. the other thing you can do is when you select a certain game is you can check compatibility. You hit this, you click on that and it'll take you to Proton database, and this will give, it's kind of like a forum where people have reported which version of Proton works with certain games. And as you can see, Kingdom Come Deliverance, well, seems to work on most. It seems to work on a lot of hardware configurations. Steam, of course, is similar. You go to your settings, and then you're going to go to compatibility, and you can set a default Proton as well here. You can also right-click on a specific game. You can go to Properties, right? And you can do compatibility here and select a different use of a different Proton if you want to. You're going to want to check the force a specific Steam Play compatibility tool. Now I'm going to leave this unclicked for now because this game just works with the default one at the moment. And most single-player games in both Steam and Heroic Games Launcher just work. It's the multiplayer games, the online multiplayer games where that compatibility is an issue. So, is gaming viable on Bazzite? On older hardware, particularly older Nvidia GPUs like a 9 series or 10 series GPU. This is Stray. It's a game that came out in 2022, has pretty good graphics, and this particular scene is early in the game and is one of the more demanding areas as you get chased by, well, lots of things here. And it shows me that yes. So, for reference, this was done at 1080p with the graphics setting all of them to low, except resolution scaling is at 100% and textures are at their highest. And it looks like it uses less than 4 gigs of video memory, so something like 970 would do even better. Something like a 980 Ti or maybe a GTX 1060, you could turn some other settings up easily. So, Oblivion Remastered, which is a game that was released earlier this year, is a very demanding title. And on this hardware, it can't run at a playable frame rate in Windows. Could Bazzite actually rescue this hardware? Sometimes Linux can give you better performance in games, but that's usually on AMD hardware, not Nvidia. And in this case, with Bazzite on older Nvidia hardware, it's actually slightly worse, so Oblivion Remaster is still not playable on this hardware. Some games in Linux have this odd behavior. They might actually have a Linux native port, but at the same time will still run better on Proton. And Total War Warhammer is one of those games. For this testing on Total War Warhammer, I used all ultra settings with the exception of unlimited video memory and FXAA. And this is at a 1600 by 900 resolution. Everything else is at ultra. This happens to be the Linux native version, and it looks like at this resolution it can barely, it just doesn't quite maintain above 30, does it? And as you can see, yeah, it maintains an average of slightly above 30, but it certainly gets below that. Towards the middle of the benchmark, it gets all the way down to the low 20s. When using Proton, you can specify which DirectX in certain games because they have different versions available to you. Total Warhammer is one of those games. You can run it in DirectX 11 or DirectX 12. Now, in both Proton and native Windows, it performs better in DirectX 11. Running in Proton, the game looks like it's running a little bit smoother, at least on this benchmark. It's a canned benchmark. It doesn't drop below 30 in this little clip here. And then when you get to the end of the benchmark, the numbers are certainly higher. It's averaging close to 39 instead of 31. The minimum is 4 frames per second higher at 27 instead of 23. And it dips only once below 30. Now in Windows 10, using the exact same settings and DirectX 11, looks a bit smoother. And once you get to the summary, my suspicions were correct. I didn't have the analytics on during the actual running the benchmark, so I couldn't tell for certain, but it did look a little bit smoother. And that is correct. It actually averages 43 frames per second instead of 38, 39, and its minimum is 31. So it maintains above 30, so Windows 10 wins. This is Tomb Raider 2, actually Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Whatever the title is, right? I think it's just Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now, this is a game that actually has a decent Linux port. It runs better than it does in Proton. This is here, it's running in Proton. And the canned benchmark in Rise of the Tomb Raider doesn't even average, well, it only averages 51 frames per second. And some of the minimums get pretty low there. So this is Rise of the Tomb Raider running on the Linux native port. And you can see, wow, I mean, this is a big difference on the canned benchmark. It's 66, almost 67 frames per second as opposed to 51. And the lows are much higher. This is the Rise of the Tomb Raider benchmark running on Windows 10. And this is also on DirectX 11. Now, the Linux native port is actually quite competitive here. Slightly, very slightly, within a margin of error difference in overall frames per second. And the lows are actually lower in Windows 10. So it's a little bit more stable on the Linux native port. Now in Proton, yeah, Windows 10 kills Bazzite on this. And that's something to keep in mind, is most games do not have a Linux port. Okay, so this is the canned benchmark for Injustice 2, which has, it's just a fighting game from 2018. It has pretty good graphics. And as you can see, it has a pretty good frames per second and a pretty good performance in Bazzite. And this is at 1080p. And this is all settings turned to Ultra. Bazzite can run games like God of War. Now, this was a PS4 title that came out in 2018. It didn't come to the PC till 2022, but its graphics are pretty impressive nonetheless. Now, this is with PS4 original settings and some resolution scaling. I believe I set it all the way down to 50%. So yeah, the preset was original. And the display, the render scale was at 50%. Okay, so this is the first boss fight in God of War in the game, and as you can see, it's pretty taxing on the system. Both the CPU and GPU are fairly close to being maxed out, but it is playable, fairly consistent. So, like, the Bazzite is definitely a viable option in this case. So Bazzite gives similar performance to Windows 10 in most games. The only caveat is that, well, there's a lot of multiplayer games that don't work. So if you play a lot of multiplayer games, Bazzite's not an option for you. And this is similar performance with Nvidia GPUs, not just AMD. 9 or 10 series Nvidia graphics cards and just don't quite meet the system requirements for Windows 11 24H2, Bazzite can make a lot of sense. It's easy to use, it's set up for gaming right out of the box. Oh, and unlike Windows, it's not an operating system designed to spy on you all the time. Like and subscribe if you like the video, and comments are always welcome.